Hi, I'm Bill McLaughlin, editor-in-chief of Furniture Today. Welcome to our Las Vegas news desk. My guest is our sponsor, TD Bank's Mike Rittler. Mike, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Bill, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you. Mike, I'd like to get right into it. We're hearing from from retailers that business is a little bit soft. But those who are having some success, they note that a lot of their sales right now are being driven by financing. Why do you think that is in this current environment?
Financing is always a really important tool for the retailers. And it's really, I think sometimes there's a misnomer about who needs financing or who uses financing, right? I think financing is really used across the spectrum of folks that you might say are financially secure and don't need it, all the way down to folks that might need it to be able to complete a project. And in times like these, it's especially important because everybody along that continuum, they see the value that financing can bring in establishing a payment pattern that works for the customer, in from the retailer standpoint, in helping the customer see the value of the possibility of being able to do a project all at once and finish a project, put it onto a payment plan that financing provides, whether that's equal payments or however it goes. But really, what it does is that it gives the consumer confidence that they can come in, they can do the project they're looking for, they can get what they need from a furniture perspective, an accessories perspective, have it all in one place, manage it in a way that makes sense to them. I think financing is always an important tool. It becomes even more important in times like these because it can be something that can drive incentive for folks to come into the store, right? And the first step of getting a purchase is getting somebody engaged, whether that's online, in store, or however you engage them. Financing can help with that because sometimes people can look at that and say, hey, well, there is a way that I can do this that'll make sense to me, right? So it becomes super important, drives behavior. That's why we always say, like, the best thing we can do as a finance provider is integrate the financing offers in your marketing so that people know as they're looking and as they're exploring, what might work for them, how the financing can be that tool to help them achieve their goal.
So we've seen a lot of activity with interest rates, particularly. I mean, we use the federal funds rate, right? When the Fed raises that, we talk about that as almost synonymous with interest rates, and there is a ripple effect. Can you explain what the impact of the Fed's activity has been on consumer financing and what consumers are paying for their financing, right? Their relative interest rates.
So, as you know, a lot of the offers that are available in the furniture space tend to be promotional offers where there will be a 0% rate or a low interest rate that might be a part of that. But that doesn't mean that there's no cost to it. There's a cost that does come to the retailer, as our retail partners know. And as rates go up, that the rates that they pay, their cost of acceptance of the payment, if you will, becomes just another one of those escalating inputs, along with everything else, the cost of raw materials, the cost of shipping, the cost of labor, everything else, and that just becomes challenging, right? So what does that do? It forces sometimes decisions to be made to change the type of offers that are being made available. So where maybe before you might have seen a 48-month equal payment plan, maybe now you'll see a 36 or a 24-month equal payment plan, right? Because the length of that payment plan is going to dictate the cost of the acceptance for the merchant. So the terms of the financing, the term meaning the number of months that are available at the promotional rate, may not be quite as attractive to the retailer, or excuse me, to the customer. But it helps the retailer manage their cost of payments as well. So that's one impact. The other impact is sometimes, right, there are different revenue sources, and sometimes rather than offering a 0%, you'll see like a low promotional rate, like a 199 or 299, that type of thing, which is directly passed to the customer. So, this environment changes the types of offers that are available, whether it's the absolute duration or the availability of a 0%. For some retail partners, and this will tie back to the first questions, for some retail partners, they make the decision that financing isn't worth it at this point for them. But what I would contend, as you brought up, is that no, financing becomes a key tool to drive customer traffic, to drive behavior. And so the worst thing you could do is to walk away from it at this point, right? So you need to keep it as one of your tools in your arsenal to drive people into your store to engage with your products.
Well, my sense, as we've talked to retailers, is that the financing has helped attract consumers who otherwise might have been either spending their discretionary income elsewhere or who were kind of delaying a purchase, right? They were kind of in market, but they were just not able to get over that hump, so to speak, right? And commit to making a purchase. And the attractive financing offers have been able to, I guess, kind of close the deal, right? It seems like
Sure.
it's helping close rates. And when your traffic is down, that close rate becomes critically important.
Right. Absolutely. And that, excuse me, that's why, as we talked about, including the financing as part of the advertising, so the customer knows that it's available. Again, it can be that point of decision for them, right? That's why I said, like, the last thing you'd want to do is take financing out of your arsenal right now. I think it actually does it is one of the items that can help, impact customer behavior and help them either get over the hump or even start to see the art of what's possible.
So from where you sit, you have a real finger on the pulse of how sales are trending, up, down. I mean, you have to kind of forecast that almost in kind of a fiduciary way, right? To figure out what the future holds from a financing perspective. So just give me your take on how you see business progressing as we go through the rest of the year. Would you say
Yeah.
optimistic, guardedly optimistic? What's your sense?
So I guess if we ever went back and watched other times that we've talked, I generally am optimistic, and I would say I'm still there. I think this economy is interesting, right? It's super resilient. The consumer's super resilient in this economy. There's even though there's been a slowdown in certain categories, furniture being one, it hasn't really been a slowdown in spending overall. There's been a bit of a shift that's been going on, right? Like, so during the pandemic, there were the pandemic darlings. Everybody was buying, outdoor power equipment, buying outdoor furniture, buying home office equipment, buying gym equipment, all that type of stuff. So all those industries did great, during the pandemic, and as the pandemic stretched on, some of that probably pulled forward some demand, and now people have, the ability to travel and engage in different things, and so you're seeing dollars shift. Dollars are still being spent; they're just being spent in categories that maybe were repressed during the time that the pandemic categories did really well. So that's good news overall for the economy. It's not the best news in the furniture industry because that was one of the ones that had a bit of a pull forward. So the question is, like, so okay, we were up, we're down a little bit. When's it going to stabilize? Right? We get back to kind of the trajectory of, what you would call like normal growth, normal, and mixed in with all that other stuff for all the other challenges and issues, the supply chain and all that. We don't need to revisit that. We've talked about it 100 times. Um, so looking forward, it's like at some point this is all going to normalize, and like if the economy actually ends up having a recession, and if it's mild versus severe and so forth, will play a big part. I think I hate to go out on a limb, but everything you're looking at, everything you're reading, everything that all the indicators seem to say that, it looks like it's either going to be this soft landing or just a mild recession, which is great news, right? Because then that's especially when you're in a business that where consumption and retail spending is important. Recession is not your friend, so it looks like somehow we're going to get to either a mild recession or that soft landing. And then it's, I think over probably as you get through this year, through this travel season, maybe through the holidays, even coming up at the end of the year, you probably start to see a bit of a normalization in just the normal patterns of spending, which is then good news for, furniture retailers because people will now be back kind of on that cycle of regular engagement, regular replacement of that. I think housing is starting to work its way out a little bit. People are getting used to the different rate environment and so forth. We know how important housing is to the furniture industry as well. So I think as housing continues to come back, normalize, I think we'll see things normalize and really get back to a good spot. In my mind, and as you said, I have to forecast all the time what our sales are. Like I keep thinking, we get through the second, third, fourth quarter this year, we get into early part of next year, we start seeing some trends that look a lot more normal to what we're used to than what we're seeing right now.
Overall, that's encouraging. I mean, if we end up with a mild recession, or as you describe it, a soft landing, and then things start to turn around, that's I think most people, if we had this conversation a year ago and said, will you sign for that? I don't think most people would have said, I'll take that. Give that to me right now, right? I'll take the soft landing. I'll take the mild
Absolutely.
recession. And
I mean, there's still a lot of factors, right? There's still a lot of things that can happen, but um, you know, and who knows? Or that's the fun thing about forecasts and projections, right? You never know what's going to pop up that could sidetrack or derail what you're thinking. But right now it feels that way. Again, I think one of the big things is like consumers are spending, right? Like and we know like consumer confidence is a big driver, a big indicator of where things are going to go. We have a little category shift going on right now, but that'll work its way out. And as long as consumer confidence stays strong, then we should be in for good shape. And hopefully we'll look at 2024 and we'll all feel really good about where those projections are
I'll take it. Mike, thanks for
going.
taking the time with us here today.
My pleasure, Bill. It's good talking to you. Look forward to catching up again.